Denver Sports presents the Mile High Hockey Podcast with Mike Evans, presented by Fort Comfort Gutters. Now here's your host with the latest on the Burgundy and Blue, Mike Evans.
Hey everybody, welcome in. Coming to you in the aftermath of the Avs losing Game 2 of their Western Conference semifinal series with the Dallas Stars. So much to unpack from this game. Let's start with, I guess, the overall big picture, okay? And you know, this is the beauty of playoff hockey in 7-game series. You ride the highest of highs, the lowest of lows, and anytime you lose a game, there tends to be this feeling of, what went wrong? You know, is this a real problem? Are they going to be able to fix it? But I think sometimes you have to be able to back away, take the macro view, the proverbial 38,000-foot view of what this series is all about right now, and look at the positive. The Avalanche go to Dallas without home ice. They win that first game. They get the split that they wanted. Sure, it would have been great to grab both games. You want to get greedy after you win the first game, but ultimately you want to get the split, and you want to be able to regain home ice. And they did that. And in the process of getting that split, I think they gained some real strong psychological advantages that will help them throughout the course of this series. And let me explain. When you climb out of a 3-0 hole and come back and win the game in game 1, that's one thing. But then you play a really bad game. Let's be honest. The Avalanche, for the first real 40 minutes, but especially the second period, were not good. They were sloppy. Anytime you have a game in which you commit too many men on the ice penalties, and 2 delay of game, throwing the puck over the glass into the crowd penalties, that's 4 of those. That's 8 minutes of power play gifted to the other team. That would be a big deal. That would stand out on a Tuesday night in February against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Never mind in Game 2 of a playoff series against the Dallas Stars on the road. You just can't do it. And the Avalanche put themselves in a deep, deep hole. But they dug and clawed and scratched their way almost all the way out of it. In fact, as they're coming back and they're cutting into this lead, it's 4-1. All right, 4-1. They got on the board. They avoided the shutout. Then it's 4-2. And you're looking at the clock and you're like, hey, wait a minute. I've seen this act before. Then it's 4-3. And you're like, anything is possible, right? And then you get the high sticking penalty. You get the power play. You have the goalie pulled again, and it's a 6-on-4. And at that point, honestly, I'm watching, and I've gone from, wow, this would be a cool comeback, but it's probably not going to happen, to I'm now expecting them. And I was really disappointed when they didn't get the equalizer and gave up the empty net goal and ended up losing, because it seemed like they were in such prime position to pull this all the way off. But back to the psychological advantages. If you're Dallas, how good can you really feel about the win? Yeah, you got the win. Yeah, you evened up the series at a game apiece. But you just played 2 games in which you built 3-0 and 4-0 leads, and you lost one and had to hang on for dear life in the second one. That's got to be something that's going to be constantly in the back of their minds, and now they got to go out on the road. So I think the Avs, from that standpoint, they gained a lot. And so there's a lot for them to take into Game 3, but there's still also a lot to fix. These slow starts, for one. Yes, it's great to be able to have that tool in your toolkit, that ace up your sleeve to know that you can come back from deficits in the playoffs. But is it something that you want to test over and over and over again? Might it be nice to just kind of jump on a team, build that early 2-0 lead, expand upon it, and put together a good 60 minutes of hockey and win going away? That'd be nice. So that's something that you have to fix. You have to get off to these better starts. And also, your big guns, your best players need to get going. It was not a good night, and don't take it from me, take it from Jamie Benn. He said that he needs more. The Avs need more from Mikko Rantenen and Nathan MacKinnon, that they have to get their game going. They have to work a little bit harder. and they have to produce. So calling out MacKinnon and Rantenen, and just overall, I think you just need to see the best players get back to the level that they were at while they were winning 5 playoff games in a row, 4 against Winnipeg and in the first game of this series. So those are the things that need to improve. Now, let's get to the Devon Toews, Jamie Benn situation. How do you feel about the hit? It's been debated ever since it went down. Social media was just a flame with all kinds of vitriol, dissension, disagreement, disgust with what was called or what wasn't called. Here's my take on it, okay? Just trying to look at it strictly, no bias, just down the middle. I thought it was a good hit. Now, I'm somebody that believes that whether it be hockey or football, you can't take the physicality / violence out of the game. And I get that there is a real mission, there's a real movement to try to mitigate the amount of damage that comes from bone-jarring, head-rattling hits. But it is still a highly charged, physical, at times dangerous, violent game. And I don't think that you can completely legislate that out. I don't want you to completely legislate those hits out of the game. And this one was borderline enough that I'm okay with the fact that there wasn't a penalty called. And after review, there wasn't a penalty called. That's something you have to think about in all this. It's one thing if you just feel like the officials missed the call, that in the flow of the game, the heat of the moment, they just flat out missed the call. Okay. But they did have the benefit of going back and looking at it, consulting with the people in Toronto about whether or not this was a hit that should have been penalized. And even after the review, they decided no. Then you add in some of the hockey people, right? On the TNT, TBS, True TV, whatever it was on yesterday. Thanks for making us have to search around for that, TV people, but we found it. You had Paul Bissonnette, you had Anson Carter, you had Hendrik Lundqvist, all saying that at first blush, they thought it was a dirty hit, should have been penalized, but the more they looked at it, they said no. And I saw a brutal hit, but I saw a guy who led with his shoulder, connected with Toews' shoulder. And how many times have we seen this in football where the guy delivers the hit, the flag gets thrown, and as football fans, we're all up in arms. What are you doing? He led with the shoulder. He hit the shoulder. Yeah, maybe there was some residual momentum that carried up into the neck and head area and maybe caused a bit of a whiplash look, but it was still a legal hit. It was still delivered shoulder to chest, shoulder to shoulder. I think there was enough borderline elements to that hit that you can look at and say it was an okay hit. It was borderline, but it was still okay. It was within the rules. And I would always also ask you, loyal Avalanche fan, to always look at these kind of situations and ask yourself, okay, if the skate was on the other shoe or skate was on the other foot, and this was an Avalanche player delivering that kind of hit, how would you feel? Would you be saying, oh, man, I love my guy. I love my Avalanche player. I love my Josh Manson, but that was a dirty hit. That should have been penalized. Or would you be saying, no, he led with his shoulder, he hit the shoulder, and he got a little bit of the neck and head, but it was still a good hockey hit. I have a feeling, right? Let's be honest. Just you and me, let's be honest, that if the roles were reversed, you'd probably think it was an okay hit. But I get it. You're a fan. You hate seeing Devon Toews get his brain scrambled like that. You hate seeing Jamie Benn, who you already hate anyway, delivering that kind of hit. So I understand the anger about that hit, but I thought it was an okay hit. And more importantly, I don't want us to get to the point where every bone-rattling, jarring hit is automatically looked upon as something that, nope, that was illegal and that needs to be taken out of the game. I don't want that. I honestly don't. I want the league to watch out for their players, but I don't want to take away, I don't want to rob the game of its pure, hard-hitting physicality and, yes, violence. I don't want the violence to go away, just like I don't want the violence to go away in football. Sorry. I mean, call me Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon man, whatever. I don't want it to go away. And in these situations where it appears borderline, I'm going to err on the side of it was a good hit. It was a good hockey hit. Because how many of you, let's be honest, a lot of you as Avalanche fans are also Bronco fans. How many times when, let's say, a Kareem Jackson was getting flagged for one of his illegal hits, were you shouting from your couches saying, it's a clean hit. He led with his shoulder. He hit the guy in the shoulder. The momentum maybe happened to cause some connection and a hit and collision with his neck or head, but it shouldn't be flagged. What are we doing? Right? Come on, I've heard the arguments on Monday mornings after Bronco games. What are we doing? This is football. My goodness, why don't we have these guys? What are we going to be playing? Touch football? What's happened to the wussification of the NFL? What happened to my hard-hitting NFL? Same thing here, right? Anyway, that's the way I look at it. How about the way the Avs handled it? How about the way the Avs responded? Because it was fun to see the reaction immediately afterwards on social media. You know, frontier justice, eye for an eye, Avs need to get revenge. All those things were trending out there on social media after the hit. I thought the Avalanche handled it perfectly. I really did. You're still playing a playoff game. And even though you're down 4-0, you're still in a playoff game with a lot of time left. Now is not the time. That is not the time to be out there running around looking to exact revenge. You've already committed some dumb penalties anyways that put you behind the 8 ball. You're going to commit some more? No. What you do in that situation, and I thought the Avalanche handled it perfectly, you continue to play your game. And if it gets to a point where the game has clearly gotten away from you, then you can look for some old school frontier justice. You know, we'll police ourselves out here on the rink. That kind of reaction. If it gets to the point where it's still 4-0 or it's 5-0 or it's 5-1 and there's 4 minutes left in the game and it's clearly over, great. Let's go. You know, send a Josh Manson or a Miles Wood out there. Send somebody out there. Let's go, Jamie Benn. You know what you need to do. You gotta stand up and you gotta fight, and you get it over with once and for all. But it didn't happen that way, right? The Avalanche got back into the game. And by the way, it wasn't like they didn't address the matter at all. Josh Manson was a man possessed after that. He was looking for his opportunities to send messages to Jamie Benn, and boy, did he with that big hit over by the bench. To the point where you saw it, I mean, he rattled Benn to the point where Benn had to kind of take a moment to collect his faculties. You know, he's there, he's kind of scratching out the jaw, and he's kind of opening his eyes, and you can tell he's trying to kind of clear the cobwebs a little bit. So, message delivered. And, you know, you got to understand a lot of times when it comes to playoff hockey, these kind of hits occur, and naturally the team is looking for some sort of retaliation. But you gotta be smart about it. You gotta understand that it is the playoffs. I can't be taking dumb penalties to put my team in a tough position. And honestly, a lot of times it's like, okay, fine, we'll remember this, and we won't forget it. And come the next season, the first time we play, we're going to address it. We know we're going to do it. You know we're going to do it. We're all on the same page. Let's deal with it. And, you know, maybe that's the case. You know, Josh Manson beat the snot out of Jamie Benn once. You know, maybe that's something that's coming again next year. The two are going to dance. But you got to be careful about how you do it in the playoffs. There's a time and a place. And as much as you, the hockey fan out there, want revenge, you have to understand right time, right place. So that's where we are with the Avs as they get ready for Game 3. I think they're in a good position as they continue their quest for the Stanley Cup. And by the way, in case you missed it, go to denversports.com. Check out our Twitter pages. Check it all out because we had the Stanley Cup in our midst today on the Schlereth and Evans show. Mark has some contacts with the NHL. How he became hockey guy, I have no idea, but that's a story for another day. Anyway, they reached out and said, hey, we're going to be in town with the Cup. Would you like to come out and see it? And Mark's original thought was, yeah, grab my grandkids and stop on by and we'll take some pictures. And then he said, being the great humanitarian that he is, thinking of you and us, he said, hey, can you bring it by the radio station? And so they came by. Phil Pritchard, the longtime keeper of the Cup. He's been with the Cup since 1988 as the Cup travels around the world. What did he say? 93 different countries it's been in. Wherever it goes, he goes. And he is out on the road constantly with the Stanley Cup. And it was here in our building, in our studio. In fact, Mark and I are doing our show. You'll see the video and the pictures. Literally, it's right there. I mean, I can reach out and touch the Stanley Cup. But I didn't. I didn't because I believe that the Cup is one of those things that unless you are a player who has won the Stanley Cup and earned the right to lift it and touch it and all that kind of stuff, you don't touch it. And I know maybe I'm a little bit too old school, a little bit too traditional. I should probably get over that. I'm sure a lot of you are like, what? The Cup was within your grasp and you didn't touch it and try to lift it? I don't do it because the players, there is a reverence for the Stanley Cup, a reverence for the Stanley Cup that you feel, you see whenever you're around hockey players. I mean, it's the darndest thing how they look at that Stanley Cup and how they view it. It's almost like it's mythical, right? It's like the Holy Grail. And hockey players, hockey people are they're funny when they're around the Cup. I mean, to say that they're superstitious, are you kidding me? They won't touch it. They'll go out of their way to ignore it, avoid it until they've won. And then the party commences. They all get their day with the Cup. And man, that Cup, if that Cup could talk, the stories that Stanley Cup could tell, where it's been and what it's seen and what it's gone through. But it was really cool. And I thought it was awesome because we had the Cup here in the building and we'd let everybody who works here know, hey, it's going to be early in the morning, but if you'd like, come on over to work a little bit earlier and you could check out the Cup and take pictures with it and all that kind of stuff. And I had a chance to talk to some people like our guy Matt, who engineers this fine podcast, and he had never seen the Cup before, and he came out and he told me, he's like, man, he goes, I couldn't believe it. It was so exciting, and I took pictures and I sent it to my friends, and they were so excited for me and jealous of me. And yeah, you can really feel when you're around the Cup, you can feel that pull, that aura. It's like it's got this like life force around it. I know it sounds corny to some of you, but I'm telling you, you get that feeling. And I've been lucky enough covering sports over the years. I've been around the Lombardi Trophy. It's been right there within my grasp. The World Series trophy, right there. Some of the major golf tournament trophies, been there, right there. The Larry O'Brien trophy in basketball, right there. I've been around it. Been around them all. Been lucky enough. Nothing compares to the Cup. And, they brought the Cup into the building today, plopped it down in front of me and Stink, and I'm telling you, I was like giddy again. And I've been lucky enough to be around the Cup a few times as the Avs have won and been at other hockey events and have seen it and been around it. I'm telling you, it never gets old. Every single time I'm around it, it's like, wow, this is the greatest trophy in sports. And I don't know how to explain the allure of it, but I think it's something, to me, I guess the best way I could describe it is, first of all, I know how much it means to the players. And I know how much it means to hockey people, what that Cup means to them. And it's so noticeable that, wow, if it means that much to them, if they hold this trophy in such high regard and look at it almost as if it's, like the Holy Grail, then if it means that much to them, then I will show it that kind of respect, and I'll have that same kind of feeling around it. So that's the first thing. Secondly, it's just the idea of the history that's captured. I mean, you're talking about there's the 5 rings of the cup that all the names of the winning teams, the players are inscribed on it, and I think you get about a 65-year run on the cup as the different rings get replaced. But it is so cool to be able to go back and decades of seeing Stanley Cup winners, the players, the names. Oh my goodness, the names. Some household names, some the most obscure names that you'd never heard of, some that you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about him. And the idea that the original part of the cup doesn't get replaced, and that you're looking at names etched in this cup that go back to the 1800s, like 1893. Those names are still there. And that's freaking cool. That is freaking cool. So I hope as a hockey fan, as a sports fan, that at some point, if you haven't had the chance, if you ever have the opportunity, if the cup's ever in town, it's going to be at a certain place, and you have a chance to get on out and check it out, I'm telling you, it's worth it. It is worth it to go check it out and see what all the buzz is about. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. Well, that'll do it for us. Thank you once again. We'll be back again next week for 2 more podcasts as the Avs series with Dallas moves along. Should be a good one. It kind of feels like we're looking at a 7-game series. I would not be surprised if the 2 teams split here in Denver. It's 2-2 going back to Dallas for a Game 5, and then you know what it's like at that point. It's the best 2 out of 3. Here we go. It feels like it's going to be that kind of series. We'll see how it progresses, and we'll be here to talk about it with you on the Mile High Hockey Podcast presented by Fort Comfort Gutters. Take care.